He's at 20 to Shaheen's 18. Frank's got a pair of prized amalgams, but Emrakul, the promised end, just cast by Shaheen.
And once Emrakul is on the battlefield, it's really tough for Frank to come back. He's really only on using Elder Deep Fiend to tap it down.
So we'll have to hear a Jace cast by Frank. This is Frank's own turn. We've already done the Shaheen turn. So he'll pass back. And now it turns out back to normal. Emrakul's done controlling people's minds.
For now.
Yeah. She likes to do it again and again. When these casts, they just keep going.
Yeah, and while Shaheen doesn't have Grapple with the Past, he does have Liliana the Last Hope, which he uses to recur Emrakul sometimes, which is just a horrendous lack of comprehension of the storyline.
Ruinous Path on the Jace, swing with the Eldrazi. Frank goes to 7. Shaheen passes, a very healthy 18 life. One draw from Frank, and that's not going to do it. So match evens up at 1 game apiece. We're going to get to see the entirety of Game 3. This is the decider between Shaheen Soorani and Frank Skarren.
Yep, and it happened off camera, but we heard from Game 1, Shaheen stumbled a little bit, and Skarren was able to come out ahead. And really for Soorani, as the game progresses and he's able to obliterate away some of Skarren's threats, get up to descend upon the symbol, he can really just diminish Skarren's odds of winning to very small numbers.
All right, so I want to look at their sideboards. That was a sideboarded game, but we saw this matchup once before. Shaheen was the winner here. And one of the things you always like about these black control decks is they have some great sideboard options that we see him use.
Yeah, so for Shaheen, the big stuff for him is things that exile Skarren's creatures. Kalitas Trader, Get, Transgress the Mind, Infinite Obliteration, and even Pick the Brain all kind of fit that narrative.
Yeah, just get them all out of the deck permanently, because if you don't exile them, they're not going away. That's what we've seen with the Sultai deck.
Right.
On Frank's side, he's got some play to the match, but a lot of his cards don't play too well here. Pulse of Marasa, To the Slaughter, Transgress the Mind, Ultimate Price, Collective Brutality, Languish, Infinite Obliteration, Nissa, Gitleaf Winnower, and Mountain.
So he has transgresses of his own. They play well on his side as well. You can use Collective Brutality to hit some of Shaheen's stuff. It's okay. He's mostly Planeswalkers, and he's got like enchantments, so it won't always be live. It can kill Shaheen's Jaces, so that is significant. And then To the Slaughter can take care of a Planeswalker.
Yeah, pretty into the To the Slaughter here, because Shaheen will rarely have junk to protect the Planeswalkers with. So for Shaheen Soorani, the Esper Master, it's yet another top 8 for him. Not really surprising. He's the kind of player, he always shows up for invitationals. You look at that, only 7 open top 8s, but almost as many invitational top 8s. That's unreal.
Yeah.
Originally from the North, he's from the Norfolk area. The 33-year-old has had just a great run in Standard, a kind of a resurgence of his Esper tap-out style that we see him play. We talked about his great record at the Invitational with it, a great record this week with it as well. He now has 2 match losses total with the deck. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, and there's a lot of players that sort of fit that type where they just play the deck that they like, the type of strategy they like in every tournament, but few of them have as good a results as Shaheen does. Yeah,
those people who are, they're one archetype aficionados. I mean, he seems to make this kind of deck work every single format, which is just so impressive. Player's going to shuffle up for game number 3 as well. This is a decider. We are trying to get as many of our top 8 matches as possible. We already had Tad Felicetti, the winner of the first match, taking both sideboarded games over Cedric Phillips. Bant Company awaits the winner of this in the semifinals. And while they get ready, we're going to go ahead and run down some of our creature collection over here at StarCityGames.com. We have the Bone Chewer Giant. This is actually the promo for September for game night. We have that one actually now available on playmat sleeves and player bundles, so you can get that off the website. It's a pretty good art. I like winning it on pins and tokens, but you can have a lot more. You can have it on sleeves and playmats. So we have that and a lot of other of your favorite creatures available. So head on over to StarCityGames.com/creature collection. Game 1 between these two players was very quick, the kind of thing where Shaheen stumbled and Frank won. Game 2's long, Shaheen wins. When you think back to their match in the Swiss, Shaheen wins 2-0. If you add all those things together, it does feel like if both decks work, it's very hard for Frank.
It's not looking good for Frank.
Evolving Wilds from both players to start.
If Frank has one of those really quick starts where he gets to gather, gets an amalgam into the graveyard, maybe has one in hand, gets a haunted dead in the graveyard, and just gets that stuff on the table very quickly, he can steal those games even if Shaheen's deck is doing what it's trying to do.
Yeah, so like maybe a mill into multiple. Yeah, they're like a heavy amalgam draw, just some good beaters.
Mm-hmm.
There is a gather in Frank's hand. No green mana just yet. He'll play Jace.
Jace also great.
So what does Shaheen have for 2 mana removal? He can knock this off the table before Frank untaps?
He has an ultimate price for Grasp of Darkness. Presumably those are still in.
Yeah. Well, he got an island on the wild, so those are out.
That makes that tough. Not a ton of action on 2, really.
So maybe just a Jace of his own.
Yep.
Same it.
Jace of his own would also be a really good start for him.
So Shaheen, and this is a bit of a punishing play, he draws Grasp of Darkness for the turn and then has to play a basic swamp out of his hand.
Awkward.
Yup. He'll transgress. So we get a look. To the slaughter, Elder Deep Fiend, gather the pack. And could he take gather? I do think he would here.
Yeah, I imagine that would be the pick. The thing about the double Deep Fiend, perfect scenario for Shaheen is he can just produce an infinite obliteration and just get those all in one fell swoop.
Ooh, if it's in his opener, that sounds pretty great. Frank's last card under that gather is a green mana source, so Frank will get to gather, and he flips the Jace next turn, which means it's out of range of the grasp that Shaheen drew. He will take to the slaughter. So you're thinking maybe some obliteration.
This is a 2-part thing. Not only does taking to the slaughter protect Shaheen's first Planeswalker, so he can get some traction that way. But yeah, if he just can set up infinite obliteration before the Deep Fiends come down, that's just way better than taking them one at a time.
Frank, and I talked before about how Frank would learn from the matchup. You see, he drew Evolving Wilds for the turn. He could play Wilds, activate Jace, and wait, but then he would lose the Jace to the Grasp in Shaheen's hand. Playing it more aggressively now with Gather, the pack first, means he'll flip the Jace and he'll get it out of range of removal.
And this is exactly what he does not need in this matchup, as he misses off of Gather.
It doesn't hit a creature, but that's not all you mean when you say miss. It's he missed no prized amalgams, no haunted deads, no anything. He just milled 5 cards.
No nothing.
Discards Elder Deep Fiend, flips his Jace into a Planeswalker. That doesn't mean, though, he gets to try again next turn, as long as Shaheen doesn't have Ruinous Path.
Yeah.
Or he can flash back that Gather, go at it again. See if he gets to. Shaheen goes to his 3rd turn. Looks like he has Oath of Jace, his own Jace, Soorani. Shaheen will just play Jace and Shambling Vent to pass the turn. Modest play by him.
Jace is solid. It helps him draw to ways to get to infinite obliteration. That's really the card that he wants to draw in this window before Frank can make Elder Deep Fiends happen.
Yeah, once they start happening, Frank will just tap Shaheen out on 2 or 3 straight turns. Collective Brutality discarding the 2nd Deep Fiend is the play for Frank. He's going to kill Shaheen's Jace and look at his hand, take a card, gets the Grasp of Darkness as well. Shaheen is left with land, Jace, Soorani.
Yeah, so Frank just says, you know what? I'm not going to get obliterated. I'm going to get these Deep Fiends out of my hand. Obliteration is still good for Soorani, but it's not going to devastate Skarren.
Real silly question here. Is Frank thinking Emblem? Is that reasonable?
It's certainly an option. Yeah, that could win this game.
You know, normally we just see him do stuff like flashback, gather the pack, keep moving on with life. But Frank missed his land there. I mean, if he goes for Emblem and Shaheen finds, you know, a Ruinous Path, well, then he looks awfully silly.
Yeah, that would not be ideal. And there's a Ruinous Path staring back at Shaheen there.
Delirium Count, Shaheen up to 4, land instant sorcery creature. He's getting ready to discard 2 here. Shaheen plays 1 Emrakul, 1 Descend upon the Sinful.
And for Ruinous Path, that's a 1 of in the main deck, 1 of in the sideboard. We'll see if Skarren decides to use his Jace more aggressively here. He saw the hand and didn't see one.
2 lands discarded by Shaheen. Plays a choked estuary, passes. Another Delirium card, Shaheen, which he cares about here actually, one of Pick the Brain. So we'll go to Frank. Does he go up or down with the Jace? I suppose it's got to be down. You know, right? We're not embleming the control deck, right?
Yeah, well,
this thing doesn't live.
He's missing on his graveyard enablers, and he just had to discard his Deep Fiends.
Yeah, he got rid of both the Deep Fiends that he knew about.
So if this Jace dies, how much Magic is he playing? He can try to set up again. You know, the Gather does flip over 5 cards.
Right, so if he thinks he's still in the game, he gathers here, right? And just tries to keep going. If he thinks that he's really far behind, maybe just pluses, then his game plan becomes something like plus the Jace, hope you don't kill it.
Right.
That sounds horrible.
I mean, both plays look like Hail Marys.
Yeah, I guess especially, I'll back up. If he goes for the ultimate here, Shaheen Soorani kills it before it happens.
Yeah, and Shaheen, that's a shambling vent there too, right? If
Okay,
White Sword shows up, you can pressure it.
Flashback used by Jace. This is much better. Traverse the Ulfen Vault, flashed back by Frank. Machine can't respond to that. Frank's side, we have Creature from the Elder Deep Fiend. We have Land. We have Sorcery. Uncertain if we have Instant. We have at least 3. So Frank paying a life for the Traverse. Frank does not have Instant, so no Delirium, just has to find a basic. Ugh. Can't say I'm all that into that.
No, using 3 loyalty off the Jace to go find basic forest.
Yeah.
Pretty weak.
Even if Frank has Delirium, does he have a much better card to get? I mean, he needs some lands. You know, I want to say, oh, how bad they didn't have Delirium, but what are we getting? He'll transgress Shaheen. This finds Ojutai's Command, Ruinous Path, Sorin.
All of these cards are great.
Well, right, he's playing Esper Control. Of course they're all great. He doesn't play bad cards.
Yeah, there's no reason to put bad cards in the deck. He sees that there is the White Source, so the Shambling Vent is a threat to his Jace. So he has to figure that the Ruinous Path is actually fairly low value. Shaheen's a bit away from awakening it. The Sorin is the closest thing to ending the game all on its own.
So you're saying, to rephrase it, the Jace is already dead, so we don't have to take the kill spell.
Yes. And not to mention that the Sorin will just get the Jace anyway.
You know, I agree, but I gotta think there's a Jace in Shaheen's graveyard, so I don't really want to leave him Ojutai's Command either. He takes the Sorin.
Yeah. What I'm convinced of is that you're not supposed to take the Ruinous Path.
That much seems right. Basic planes for Shaheen. Is he going to Ruinous Path the Jace? Does he need to? If he Ruinous Paths it right now, Frank cannot have the flashback.
If you attack it with Shambling Vent, Frank can't have the flashback.
He just Ruinous Paths it. Decides it's worth the card.
Yeah,
passes the turn.
Not going to spend his next turn attacking it, I suppose, and he can use the Sorin for something else.
I like that. Go back to Frank. He's got to build some sort of threat. If this game goes long enough and they just keep trading discard spells back and forth and planeswalkers back and forth, like that's what Shaheen built his deck to do. He's got more planeswalkers and more removal.
Yeah, not only does he have the planeswalkers that Frank has, he's got his own Jace Prince Prodigy, but he has big ones too.
Frank will reload. Here's a new Jace. Passes.
Sorin can eat that Jace.
So you have the untapped land. Well, Sorin's gone, but Languish will take care of it. Soorani's last card is that Ojutai's Command.
Yeah, it's really looking like taking the Sorin was correct here. The Ojutai's Command is still good, but Soorani not really ever able to leverage it too well.
Haunted Dead the play for Skarren. We go back to Soorani. He draws. It's another Oath of Jace. He's got that command mana up, though. I'm pretty into Ojutai's Command on this board.
Yeah, given that he has the Jace in the graveyard, I like just leaving up the Ojutai's Command. If Skarren casts a creature spell, just go ahead and counter it. If he doesn't, get your Jace back and draw a card.
Question here for you. If you're in Shaheen's spot, are you worried? Do you have to hold the Ojutai's Command for an Elder Deep Fiend? I mean, there's 2 in Frank's yard, but there's a Haunted Dead in play that's not going anywhere.
Yeah. It's something you got to be afraid of. He doesn't have an answer to the Deep Fiend once it's on the table. Yeah, there's a good chance you just sit on it.
Shaheen passes. Makes sense. Frank draws. He does have a Deep Fiend, as we know, too.
The other thing about the Oath of Jace, Shaheen has a card in his hand that is just good. So
Right, you want to like discard lands or bad things
exactly.
with it.
Once he draws maybe a land or two, then casting it looks a lot better.
So Frank's going to get his first damage in most likely this turn. Now his graveyard doesn't have much going on with it. He's got not all the card types. He doesn't have a Haunted Dead or a Prized Amalgam in the yard. He's got a Deep Fiend in his hand. That helps. Frank just going to swing with the Spirit Token, or he's going to do them both? It looks like it'll be both. Shaheen could go for a block with Shambling Vent here.
Yeah, and the thing is, Frank knows about the Ojitize command. If you animate the Shambling Vent, you can no longer cast that spell this turn.
And you see, Shaheen doesn't. Just goes to 17. Land 5 for Frank, and he'll pass. Does Shaheen end step go for that command now? Answers? Yes.
When you know that your opponent knows about your command, it becomes a lot harder to leverage it.
Yes, I think especially against the Emerge deck, because Frank is very rarely pressured into a spot where he has to play a creature. Right? He can just hit them with Haunted Deads, mill himself, things like that.
Yep.
Return Jace, draw a card are the modes picked. The card advantage modes sounds good to me.
Yep.
So a Jace and a card for Shaheen. Does Shaheen get to untap? Yes, he does. Do we wait on Shaheen's upkeep? There's we've seen this trick a lot. He's going to put the Scry trigger of Oath of Jace on the stack, and he's going to try to flip his Planeswalker in response. Skarren now is going to go for that Elder Deep Fiend. He has to take a pain off the Yavimaya Coast. But he emerges away the Haunted Dead. Here's the 5/6. He's going to try to tap some cards. Not too many counterspells in Shaheen's deck, so this probably resolves.
Right. He just spent the Ojitize command as well.
Targets are... Looks like he went going for all the black mana.
Makes sense. Black mana is generally how you're going to get Elder Deep Fiend off the table.
Yeah, cards like Murder in Shaheen's deck, yeah, can't do that. There's no double black land. We'll see how Shaheen wants to respond. I suppose if Frank wanted to get... Here's an experience thing. What Frank could have done was put the Oath of Jace trigger on the stack, let the Oath of Jace trigger resolve for 0, then made this play. If there's still... We are still holding priority with the Oath of Jace trigger, so now Shaheen gets an extra card dig here with the Jace to find...
Right,
the Deep Fiend.
With the knowledge of the
counter.
Deep Fiends there, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing about this, with the Jace flipping on this turn, he'll be able to shrink the Deep Fiend.
This is neat. Shaheen just didn't actually. I think actually that sequence is what happened, because Shaheen just didn't tap the Jace. He's hanging on to it, using it, trying to get that free block, valuing it more than the Scry.
Yeah. He already knows there's 2 Deep Fiends in Skarren's graveyard.
Yeah, the odds that Frank will chain a bunch of Deep Fiends. I mean, I suppose if Frank has, say, a grapple here, Shaheen might not ever get another turn. Speaking of it, hey, that last card looks like grapple. All right. Mills Evolving Wilds, Yavimaya Coast, grapple. Yeah, none of those matter, but this Elder Deep Fiend in the yard seems pretty cool. But still, Frank's just a little short on cards, resources. Yeah, I wish he had 2 cards in hand so he could just bring back Haunted Dead, emerge another Deep Fiend.
Yeah, the thing is, to emerge, he has to sacrifice the Deep Fiend. That was his last card in hand.
Yeah, he'll draw to 1. He just needs... Yeah, he's 1 card short of having a really great turn here. So he'll draw. It's another land. Land, Deep Fiend are his cards. Can't actually push damage right now. Shaheen will block and transform. He said Jace, the master of running away from fights.
That's what he's best at.
So Frank will swing them both. He'll force the play. But Shaheen will make it. Jace, block, tap, draw, then discard. Draws a swamp. I don't know if he has too much interest in that. He'll actually discard the second Oath of Jace. Flip his creature into a planeswalker. On 5 loyalty. Now we have to start looking at what are the cards to flashback in Shaheen's graveyard. We have Ruinous Path, Grasp of Darkness, Transgress the Mind, Languish, and Ojutai's Command.
Ruinous Path kills Elder Deep Fiend.
It seems pretty nice. A lot of times we see Shaheen with his Narsets and Jaces just really use the card Dark Petition to great value. Doesn't have one yet, but if he finds one, it's real bad for Frank.
Yes.
So 1 damage in puts Shaheen to 16. Frank will continue, just passing the turn. He played the land out, but is still a ways off. Shaheen resolves the Scry 1. Scries to the bottom. Now Frank goes for the Emerge. Emerges Elder Deep Fiend from Elder Deep Fiend. Tapping Shaheen again. It's good, but not great. No matter how many lands he taps, well, he's going to try. He's trying to tap Shaheen off of Ruinous Path, but Shaheen says no. Plays another Swamp out of hand, gets the kill spell back, takes care of the 5/6.
And you saw Shaheen discard Oath of Jace to Jace and keep Swamp for this reason.
Really good foresight there by Soorani. It looks like Frank's last card there, actually not forced, was another grapple, so he'll grapple here. But 16 apiece. All Frank has is a Spirit token. And he just keeps being one card short of doing anything. He's going to get back Jace. Figures if he keeps getting back Deep Fiends, he doesn't go anywhere. So he takes the O2.
If he just gets back Deep Fiend, he doesn't have enough cards to bring back Haunted Dead to emerge it out.
Attacks with the Spirit. You know, it just feels here, when this is our second time watching this match, I really like Sultai Emerge because it's this ramp deck with like a an aggro game plan. It kind of reminds me when an elf deck in Legacy just starts trying to beat people up. It's like doing this plan B, which is pretty good, right? But this plan B part of Sultai Emerge, where it's just, the backup plan of some random creatures aggroing. There's just like no way that works against this Planeswalker deck. Shaheen's deck was built to kill creatures.
Right. Your A plan gets a ton of value on the board. You assume that most decks are going to be kind of soft to triggering Kozilek's Return out of your graveyard. And your B plan is casting 3 mana 3/3s and 4 mana 2/2s.
Which is actually good in a ramp mirror, but that's not going to beat a deck with 10 Planeswalkers. They're just going to murder those guys.
Yeah, you're significantly behind in terms of quality interaction.
Oath of Jace number 2 for Shaheen. Draws 3, has to discard 2. He has land and Sorin in hand. Not bad. Plays land 6. Plays the 6 mana Planeswalker, or correction, plays Descend upon the Sinful. That's better. And yeah, land, enchantment, instant, sorcery. Shaheen's got it.
And that's a 4-turn clock.
Jace pluses. Judge double checking here on it. There we go. Angel is made. Skarren, draw, and just a pass. Looks like Shaheen has turned the corner.
And Scry 1 again. Doesn't want it. Goes to his draw step. And here comes Sorin, Grim Nemesis.
Plus shows murder. Frank takes 3.
That changes things to a 3-turn clock.
Jace pluses, Angel swings, and Shaheen has done it. You see his deck always on the defensive, just more walkers, more kill spells until eventually your opponent runs out of stuff, and Frank has officially run out of stuff.
Frank's best avenue is making 1/1 chump blockers with Haunted Dead if he can combine that with Elder Deep Fiend, but right now he doesn't have enough cards in hand to have that combination. Meanwhile, Shaheen has Sorin Grim Nemesis, which can deal a lot of damage out of his deck, plus the 4/4 flyer.
To the slaughter from Frank. Gets a creature and a Planeswalker, but Shaheen will activate the Shambling Vent. He's going to sack that for the creature.
And presumably the Jace is less valuable than the Sorin.
Sorin seems pretty great here. Between Sorin and that Angel token, I'm not particularly worried about Shaheen. He may even have more options depending on the cards he has in hand. Yeah, activates the creature land. So, okay, I have to sacrifice a creature. That's fine. Uses its own mana to do it, so. Spell resolve. All right, loses Jace and Vent. Shaheen's hand is Murder and Anguished Unmaking. Some nice reactive spells in case Prank puts something in the way.
Yeah, I like the play from Skarren. It says you need to see this to close the game this way. Of course, doesn't get past Soorani.
Plus from Soren shows Dark Petition. That's 5-4 from the Angel, and that is going to be the game. Shaheen Soorani, Esper Control, moves on to the semifinals. For Frank Skarren, a great day one. He was the undefeated player, had a really rough start to today, but rallied his way back into the top 8, got the 7th seed, but it's going to be the end of the road for him.
It's sort of a subtle thing that happened there. Soorani cast to Transgress the Mind, saw that there were 2 Elder Deep Fiends in Skarren's hand and took a different card. He didn't have Infinite Obliteration, but he put the Fear of Obliteration into Skarren. We saw him down the line actually discard both of his Elder Deep Fiends. Of course, his deck is very capable of getting them back. He has Grapple with the Past, he has Jace to get back Grapple with the Past, but that subtle kind of thing where he says, okay, you can have these Elder Deep Fiends, and then Skarren's like, I don't want these cards in my hand. That was really impactful.
Yeah, well, Frank